Hi, and welcome to 66 Days to Success. I'm Jeff Ondash, and boy, have we got a great interview for you today. We're right here at Southside Boxing Gym on Market Street in Youngstown. We're going to be talking to a young man who's going after a goal that he set, and this is not something that is easy to attain. He's going to tell us his journey and his story in just a few minutes. But I want you to listen closely to him, because this is a young man that has gone through a lot of adversity in his life. And we're all so complacent, and we all procrastinate so much about doing the things that we're going to do next week. And he's going to teach you and talk to you about how that if you really want to accomplish those goals that you're setting out to do someday, is to maybe not start them someday, but start today. This kid is now 39 years old and is going back to try professional boxing again. This is a great story from a young man, started out as a troubled youth. Through the sport of boxing, he progressed to become a really good guy, and now he's helping to train some very good young men at Southside Boxing. But that's not enough for him. He's going to get back in the ring at the end of November and fight as a pro again. And this is no easy task. Being a professional boxer is one of the most grueling and demanding things you could put on your body. And this kid has lost a lot of weight, 43 pounds to be exact. So if he could do it, anybody out there trying to lose weight on a diet, there is no excuse why you can't do it. So Vinny's going to tell you about his story, and maybe you could learn from him how you could accomplish your goal. Sit back, and here comes Vinny O'Neill to tell you all about how to succeed and do anything you want to do in your life. We'll be right back. And welcome back to 66 Days to Success. And I'm sitting here with Vinny O'Neill, the old version of Vinny O'Neill. Let's take a little walk back through the history of Vincent O'Neill. Now, you started out, you grew up in Girard, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then from there you got an interest in the sport of boxing at what age?
13 years old. What happened was my uncle,
Louis
O'Neill. Yeah, he was a fighter growing up and loved the sport. And actually, when I was younger, I don't know, probably like 5 or 6, he came by for Christmas one year with weights and boxing gloves. So I'd been introduced to the sport years before that, but then right around 13, my mom got tired of me fighting and getting suspended from school and putting holes in doors and hitting walls and stuff like that, so she bought me a punching bag for the basement. And I used to go down there when I get upset and hit the bag, you know, and one day my uncle was over talking with my dad or something, I was down there hitting the bag, and my dad was like, "Yo, Lou, come down here and see Vinny hit the bag." And he came down, and he was, you know, impressed a little bit, and then he showed me a couple things, and really, you know, from that point on, I just started developing my punches and stuff on my own. And right around 14 years old, I was going through Girard High School one day and saw up on the wall that there was a flyer for the Boom Boom Mancini KO Drugs high school boxing tournament, and all my friends were like, "Oh, you think you're tough, and you know why don't you go ahead and we'll see how tough you are?" And I don't know. I went down there and I signed up, and ended up winning the tournament my first year, and went back the second year, and it's pretty much how I got my start from my mom getting tired of me beating things up in the house, getting suspended from school.
So you had your love for the sport, get out of high school, and at some point then you started fighting after the Boom Boom thing. You became an amateur fighter and had some amateur fights.
Yes, well, through the high school boxing tournament, I started getting some phone calls to the house. My mom was answering the phone, and Tony Mariano from McDonald AC, he had called, and I believe it was Earl Charity, he had called, and you know, I just went to the closest one to the house, something I could get to every day, and that was Tony Mariano, and I was there for probably, you know, a good 6-7 months, and he taught me all the basics and got me going, and I remember the tedious moving backward, or front and back and side to side for days, and, you know, it wasn't moving as fast as I wanted it to, and I decided to go down to Earl Charity's one day. And when I got to Earl Charity's, I realized that there was somebody there I knew, so Dennis Franklin, he ended up picking me up every day and taking me with him to Earl Charity's. I was at Earl Charity's for about a year, And Dennis said he was going to leave Earl Charities and come to Jack Lowe's because Jack had Kenny Cigarani and Craig Kicka, and they were both undefeated, and they were on the scene at that time. And
as pros.
As
right?
pros, yeah, as pros. And if I'm not mistaken, they were both roughly around 10-0, 12-0, something like that. And I was like, well, you know, I'm going with you because you're how I get to the gym every day. And he was like, well, yeah, this guy, you know, he's young and he's active and he's getting all these kids and everybody's getting fights and, you know, this is the place to be. And like 14 years old, between 14 and 15, somewhere in that range, I walked into Jack Lowe's. And
you're still considered a junior Olympic fighter at that age, though, right? You're not really an amateur.
Yeah, I was a junior Olympic fighter at that time, but I never fought in the JOs or the Silver Gloves or anything like that, because when I came on, I was at that age where, like, going to fight those guys, then they had a whole bunch of fights. So Jack kind of kept me out of that, and we pretty much we're just doing show fights and smokers and stuff like that around the area.
How many total amateur fights did you have?
Close to like 50, close to 60 fights.
60 fights.
But,
and that was all the way through what age?
All the way up till I was 24. I actually left Youngstown at 19, and I was 20, and moved to Las Vegas, and that's where I finished up my amateur career with Barry's Boxing out in Vegas, and I fought out there quite a bit on show fights and around the surrounding areas, Utah and stuff like that. So.
But at some point you had your fill of the amateur game and you wanted to, did you take a hiatus? Did you take some time off?
Well, you know, I had a couple times through, I mean, all the way from the age of 14 till 24 where I had some gaps in my amateur career. I was a wild young teenager and, you know, got in my share of trouble and wasn't an angel, you know. Put my mom through a lot of stuff. And like I said, I spent some time in the juvenile system, probation and all that stuff. So yeah, I had my gaps. And then at 19, at 20, I had a son. So I tried to do the right thing there and was out of the sport for some time. But then it was like anytime I got away from the sport, my life spiraled out of control. And then to get my life back in focus and to give myself some perspective and stuff like that, I always found my way back into boxing. Like honestly, boxing has been a lifesaver to me in my life. Even like right now, being 39 years old and getting ready to enter the ring again, it's brought me back to some type of sanity. You know, I had let my body go. I had been, you know, out, you know, drinking and doing stuff and hanging out and eating whatever I wanted and just not living the way that
a lot of discipline left in you.
Yeah, a lot of discipline left in me, you're right. Yes.
But boxing's a sport where this isn't something you mess around with. This is not go out and play a game of softball or go shoot some hoops. Boxing is a serious sport that you just don't want to show up and throw on some gloves and go in there and you know, battle it out with somebody. This is a very disciplined sport where it takes time to learn the fundamentals of it. You need, like you were talking about Mr. Mariana back, and I go back with him back to Girard AC. Back then, you know, in the Golden Gloves back in the late 70s and early 70s, boxing was huge in this area.
Yeah.
And it did so much for so many kids. Just like you're talking, you're atypical of every gym had 10 Vinny O'Neills with the same story in it, and it made men out of boys, and it took the bullies and made them humble, and it took the meek kids and it gave them some backbone, and it taught them how to be a man. It's a great sport. So you're in this sport. It's giving you discipline, and then all of a sudden you leave the amateur ranks. Now you're going into a whole different level as fighting as a pro. Now that's a big jump, because when you're fighting as an amateur, you're fighting 3 rounds, 3 3-minute rounds. Headgear today, larger gloves. When you go to be a pro, the game changes in a big way. The gloves get smaller, the headgear goes away, and the competition gets a lot tougher.
Yeah, You're right. The other thing that you missed out is the shirt comes off.
The shirt comes off.
That was a big,
I fought so long ago that we didn't have shirts.
Oh,
we didn't have to wear
there
them.
you go. So, but like we went from wearing the tank tops and that came off. That was the biggest. That first time you walk out on that pro stage. Well, I'll get to that in a minute. But my transition was at 25 years old.
Which is kind of late.
Yeah, it's kind of
for a lot of fighters.
Like I said, I had some time, some breaks. So, but prior to me turning pro, I took 2 years in Vegas, and I trained with Mike McCallum, and when he wasn't around, I was with Eddie Mustafa Muhammad, and
who was a light heavyweight and cruiserweight champion.
Yeah, both of them were world champions, 2- and 3-time world champions. And I got hooked up with them through Jack Lowe and Kelly Pavlik. When Kelly was coming out to Vegas to train and I was already living out there, I would hook up with them guys and train with them. And they took me into the Top Rank gym and introduced me to some guys. And I'll never forget it. The very first time I was in there, like 2 days later, they said, well, let's see what he's got. Does he want to spar? And I had not been working out probably for like 6 months. And had only been working out for like a week with Kelly, running and stuff. And Jack was like, oh, you could work out here. They want to see what you got. So they put me in the ring with this Wes Ferguson, and I sparred. And I think it was like a Friday. And after I got done, when I went back to the hotel room with Jack and them, I guess the guys at Top Rank said, yeah, we'll work with him. We'll take him under our wing. And that's how I got hooked up with those guys. Mike McCallum, great guy. He treated me like a son. You know what I mean? I got so much boxing knowledge from him over the time that I worked with him out there. But hey, they took me around, and I lived like almost 2 years where I didn't work in Vegas. All I did was box, and I got paid to spar, and they really moved me and got me ready to turn pro. And they got me a contract with Guilty Promotions, and I fought in Vegas twice. And
as a pro.
As a pro. And then I'd received the cut, and I had to be out for like 90 days. So during that 90 days, I was still in the gym, and then I got cleared to fight again, and I went down to the Orleans and found out that that Guilty Promotions was going bankrupt. And I couldn't get a hold of anybody, and I was being told that my contract that I had with them, being since I just signed it, was going to be held up in litigation until it all got, went through the bankruptcy process. So like, my pro career, what I was getting at is has taught me a lot. I've been through.
Well, it's a business too.
Yeah,
that's what's the biggest part of the difference between an amateur and a pro is the business. People don't realize that the business behind it is pretty nasty.
And that's what I got to learn real quick being out there. And right where I was leading to is we because of my contract and working with a promoter and working with matchmakers and being on a bigger scene like in Vegas and seeing how the gyms are run and the way guys are getting trained and bringing in sparring and stuff like that, I learned a lot about the business of boxing, which made me fall in love with the sport a lot more. The things that I enjoy about boxing is the business side of it overall. Now that I'm getting older, I still have the love to fight.
How many pro fights did you have?
4, 2, and 1.
4, 2, okay. So you stop at some point being a pro. You're in your mid to late 20s probably about at that time, right?
26.
Okay. Now you're 39 now. So you come back to Youngstown and you get involved. You start to give back to the game of boxing. You come in with Jack Lowe. You're helping with the amateurs here. You're a trainer. And I think some of the best people that walk the face of the earth are boxing trainers, because what they give and the little bit of accolades that they get back, which aren't any.
Yeah, which aren't much at all.
Nobody gives them the just due that they had. Because again, if you go back to the heyday in this area of the late 60s and 70s and early 80s of boxing and what the sport did for so many kids here, it was all because of those men that gave countless amounts of hours to the sport of boxing. The Cordovas, the Mayorgas, the Pedro Tomazes, the Frank Wests, and and now today we don't have as many gyms here. But you decided to come back and help Jack Lowe out at Southside Boxing, and Jack's done a lot in his own right for kids and amateur fighters. And now you're training amateurs for a while.
Yes. So yeah, I did at 26 because of my contract issue. With Guilty Promotions in Vegas, I decided to join the military. So I did my time in the military and the Marine Corps, and came back here and started fighting again. As a matter of fact, you was the ring announcer for a couple of those fights. And I had 3 fights back here in Youngstown over a couple years' time. Had some injuries and some stuff like that. And finally, my last fight, I just wasn't dedicated enough. Didn't have the same desire, the same motivation to train, and came in overweight and fought 3 weight divisions over what I'm used to fighting.
And those are all recipes for getting your butt kicked.
Yeah, all recipes for disasters, And so after that, everybody was like Jack and the boxing commission, Ernie Bravado. They said, just hang it up. Find something else to do. We don't want to see you getting hurt. We don't want to see you getting beat up if it ain't there. So I took their advice and I left the sport of boxing. And for about, I would say 2.5 years, I wasn't even around it. Not in the gyms. I wasn't going to boxing matches. I couldn't go into watch fights. I couldn't watch them on TV. And then my life started spiraling out of control again. And then, I don't know, my girlfriend, we got to talking one day, and I started thinking about opening up a gym and drawing myself back to boxing for the discipline and the motivation, and because it's all I really know, and giving back to the kids. So I mean, she kind of pushed me in a direction to I started looking at opening up my own gym, and then Jack approached me, and when Jack approached me, I kind of said, you know what, it's better for me to go with Jack and be like an understudy and be taught the ropes and learn from him. He's like a father to me. He's always been there for me.
He's only been a ringside trainer of the year, and that happens once a year to one guy
exactly
in the world. So that's not a shabby thing to have
not at all.
Hanging on your wall or to work with.
And he's had national champions, amateur champions. He's had some of the toughest amateur boxing teams in Youngstown since I've been in the sport.
He's got a great list of pros behind him,
A
too.
great list of pros. He's had, champions, all kinds of different belts. He's worked with a lot of people. He's got a lot of connections. Everybody knows Jack Lowe. So I looked at it as, the other thing is Jack is, like I said, like a father figure to me. So him coming to me and asking me was meant a lot to me. That he would have the faith in me, or believed in me enough to kind of allow me to come in and work under him and become a trainer, and be taught the ropes from somebody that's been there and done that, and know that he's going to be in my corner.
And now what you do is you've taken over the amateur side for him, and really you're the one that's helping these kids grow and learn the game from the kid that walks in the door green that thinks he's a fighter.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks they're a fighter until they climb through the ropes,
and then they realize how hard it is.
Yeah, this ain't in the schoolyard anymore. There's rules here and a lot of discipline that I didn't have before. So you're taking these kids and you're helping them out and molding them into great young men, and that's got to be a nice feeling for you to see a kid grow from that green kid when he came in here to a nice young man in the ring.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Working with the kids has done so much for me as a person too. They've inspired me, and they motivate me every day I see them. Now they drive me nuts sometimes. They're like kids can do, but it's been a great experience to take somebody and watch them grow from the ground up, and become better versions of themselves, because there's nothing like getting in the ring. There's nothing that's going to change a kid and make him disciplined and learn, work ethic.
Humbling.
It's
a very humbling
sport. A lot of
sport.
people get humbled real quick.
Sometimes on a nightly.
Sometimes on an afternoon basis. Yeah, you're absolutely right. But so. Hey, I've come in and I took over this program, and you're right, all these kids are coming in, and I started working with them, and it's grown to be so much more for me than just boxing. I've realized that I like working with kids. I like letting them know my story, letting them know my mistakes, and trying to make sure that I can help a few of them not fall into the same traps that life has to offer.
boxing isn't, we've said this probably 10 times already, boxing is a very difficult sport. It is not for everybody. Anybody who's stepped in the ring once, you know, to me is a man. And you don't belittle anybody who's had the guts to walk in there and fight another guy, even if it's just sparring or if it's a regular amateur fight in a smoker or whatever. But then to move up to a professional rank, it becomes a whole different ball game. Let's get to the meat and potatoes of you now. We're all about motivation here. We all go through our daily routines talking about the things we want to do and when we're going to do them, and it's always on a procrastination list for the majority of people. Following your dreams. We all talk about, yeah, I'm going to get this done. I'm going to write that book. I'm going to do this. You wanted to go back at an age at 39 years old and become a professional fighter again. This is not a simple thing. This is not an easy task. The amount of work that you had to go through it, because you put on some weight. Yeah. You know, you put on a lot of weight. That in itself, the diet part of this is a big thing to undertake in itself, let alone at the same time trying to go back to the sport that you love. So you had to lose how many pounds? What were you up to, about 170?
I was, at one point I was at 182.
182.
I took a picture at an amateur fight and my head was round, I was chubby, and that's when I realized,
you had the big lens to get your head in that one.
Yeah, I was like, look at you.
But you lost that weight. I mean, coming back at 29 and 39, that's a world of difference, man, because your body's different, your mind frame is different. But you said you were going to do this. You set your mind to it, and a discipline that you had to take to get there. We're days away now. We're doing this on the 9th of December, 9th of November, and your fight is coming up in 2 weeks.
2 weeks, yep.
And you've gone from that 182, you're fighting at 138. You're right on target for your weight. You're like 139 right now.
Yeah, 139.
So you've lost like 43 pounds.
Yeah.
43 pounds, which that in itself is a tremendous accomplishment. See, that all of you out there sitting on the couch thinking that I'm going to start that diet tomorrow, it don't happen unless you do it, right?
Yeah, you have to get up and you have to start changing the way you think.
Yeah.
You know, that's the first thing.
And attacking it and going after it and doing it and setting that plan, you know, and say, okay, I'm going to start this today. That's the first part of the plan. And then every day add a little bit more to it. So now you're going to come into the ring again at the age of 39 and tell the people how difficult this is. You just can't do this. Say, hey, get me a fight. I want to fight. You can't do that in the sport of boxing, because at the age of 35, they take it seriously and they care about the people, because there's been so many injuries. We unfortunately had a young man in Youngstown that died in the ring. I was there. You were there, and it was a horrible thing. So they take safety very, very, seriously in the sport. So what happens when you turn 35 as a pro?
Well, as a pro at above 35 and above, you have to go through a series of tests. Obviously your blood work, HIV and hepatitis and all that stuff. They check make sure everything's working properly. Your kidneys, your liver, and all that stuff. And then I had to go through an echo, an EKG, a stress test, and an MRI, checking my brain out and all that stuff. And you got to get cleared through a doctor. And then there's a basic physical.
And this is all stuff that under 35 fighters don't have to go through. They go through a physical, make sure they're okay, but it's
low blood work,
but it's nothing compared to what you had to do.
No, and I've been doing this. I've been going through this process for months now, getting everything completed.
When did you decide that you wanted to come back? How long has this journey been to when you said you were sitting on the couch going, I'm gonna fight? I'm going to go. I'm going to do it one more time.
I tell you what, it's not that I wanted to stop fighting before. I did lose a little bit of motivation, and when I lost my last fight, I wanted to get right back in there and do it again. I was being told that, your age, you're too old, just let it go. So I kind of just listened to everybody at the time and just, went about my business. But then, I don't know, one day, it's real crazy. One day I came in here to train the kids, and there was a conversation going on in the corner, and I overheard him. I was like, man, I want to fight. And Jack looked at me, he was like, you want to fight? I said, yeah. And he was like, okay. And then the next day, or that same night, I went home, and Jen and I talked it over, and the next thing you know, we started changing up how we eat, and I started running, and it's just took off from then. It was just one day walked in here and it was like, I had no idea it was coming. I had no idea what was about to take place, to be honest with you.
But it started that night and you kept moving towards the goal of getting back and fighting as a pro again.
Yeah, I learned from a young age, being in this sport, how to discipline myself and how to self-motivate. And then, I went to the military and they reinforced some of those things inside me. And, I've always been one of them people that if I say I'm going to do something, it might take me a little while to do it, but I will get it done. There's nothing I've ever done that I haven't at least, if I said I was going to do it, I've done it, or taken a shot at doing it, from opening my own business to, moving across country and not knowing anybody, getting a job in a major corporation such as the MGM Grand, joining the military, going to Iraq, turning pro. These are all things that I talked about when I was younger, and throughout time, I've achieved every one of those. And now my big thing is to get redemption for my last time out, because the last time out, that wasn't me. I was in the ring, my body was there, it wasn't me. And I need to make up for that. Hey, win, lose, or draw, hey, I'm coming out to fight, I feel good, I'm healthy, my weight's down, I'm in shape. If I get beat this time, then guess what? Then he was a better man that night, but he fought me. He's gonna fight Vinny O'Neill. And
the in shape, determined, disciplined Vinny O'Neill.
Yes, and I can deal with that better.
So if you could tell our people out there in the audience that if they have a goal or if they want to do something and it's on their I'm going to get this done list, but I can't start tomorrow, I got to wait till Monday to do it. What do you tell them? I mean, if they've got that goal of something, just even the weight loss part of it.
Yeah, don't wait. Don't wait. Hey, every day that you put off is a day that you lose. And you just got to get up, you got to put it in your mind, and you have to just start making better decisions. Everything starts with our decisions. From losing weight to accomplishing a goal, whether it's a short term to get to a long term goal, you just have to tackle one thing at a time. And it all starts with changing the way you think about things and the decisions you make. I mean, it's real easy to go somewhere and, you could have, this sugar soda, because I'm not going to lie to you. I love Coca-Cola, you know what I mean? And there's been times I'd sit with a 2-liter and smash a 2-liter. But then I had to look at it and be like, that's bad. Water is what I need, right? And it just, have to let something go. You have to make that good decision. You have to be willing to stick to what's going on in your head.
What if somebody attempts this and then fails? Then what do you tell them?
You just get back up and do it again.
Get back on that horse again.
You can restart something over and over and over. I mean, don't think that, I haven't had the moments in my life where, I stumble and you fall. And like I've said before, my life has spiraled out of control a couple of times. And then I take a look in that mirror and there's nobody else to blame but myself for what's going on in my life. And then I decide, what do I have to do to change it? And then I put together a process in my head. And sometimes that process works out, and sometimes I have to go back and regroup and come back out and, make better decisions.
That's a really good point that you just made. Because a lot of people, especially myself, we always try to find an easy excuse of why we don't succeed at something. and the easy excuse is to point the finger at something or somebody else. But what you just said is you just look in the mirror and you blame yourself, and you take responsibility for failing or for not getting started or not doing the things that you should be doing to get started. That's a great way to look at it, and he's exactly 100% right on that one. So what are you planning on doing out there? What do you want to do? What's the goal that you want to set? We're getting close to that big old January 1 resolution. Here's a man who's turning 39. You have to understand the gravity of this. This is not something that a person in their late 30s is going to do. To go back into a game that's very dangerous could be deadly. He's taking a big risk here. But it's something that he needed in his life that gets you back on that disciplined way of being a good guy, getting your body in shape, getting your mind in shape, putting yourself on the right path. Lost 43 pounds. I saw you when you were 182. We used to joke about it.
You always get it,
we got to lose some here too. But he took this seriously. And now you're going to go back in the ring, and you're there. You are 2 weeks away from reaching your goal. Mm-hmm. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
You're a hell of a man for doing that.
Thank you.
But what happens, win, lose, or draw, after this fight? Then what do you do? What's your next goal? Or do you continue on with this one?
Well, all right, so my next goal, hey, I do plan on, we talked about it prior to sitting down here today. I do plan on fighting again. I didn't do all this work and work this hard and get myself to where I am right now to just fight one time and hang him up. I am getting, at the end of the line where I'm not going to be competing anymore myself. And, I need to take advantage of the couple more times that I can do what I love before it's over.
But it's going to end.
It's going to end.
At some point. And it won't be a long time.
No, it's not going to be long at all, you know what I mean?
Within a year or so. I mean, maybe you can get another couple years out of it if you're lucky. But when it ends, then what do you do? Do you just say, I don't have boxing in my life, I can't be disciplined anymore?
No,
or where do you go then?
Well, and that's where it comes in, is like right now I've taken a break from working with the amateurs, and Jack's taken that over again. But when this fight's over, I plan on going back and working with the kids. I plan on, I want a national champion. That's one of my goals next, is to get one of these kids to win me a national title, because I fought in the nationals twice. I won 4 Golden Gloves. I went to the nationals twice. I never got a victory on a national level, but I was there. I would love to get me a national title through one of my kids that I train. So that's one of my goals. Down the line, I would love to, get myself some professional fighters and help them in their careers and look out for them and do the right thing by them. I also have another goal that's come about just recently, and it's because of the kids that I work with. I have a college degree right now in computer science, but I plan on going back to school, and I would like to get my teaching degree and go into the schools and become a teacher, so that I can. I found out through this process that I enjoy working with the kids. I enjoy trying to make sure that, like I said before, that they don't fall into the same traps and things in the world. I know you can't save everyone or you can't help everyone, but I think because of the things I've been through in my life and where I've been and what I've done, that kids listen to me a lot, and they take what I'm saying to heart. And I mean, that's a great feeling. So I have some goals that I plan on moving towards here in the near future. The other thing is, being a teacher allows me the little bit of freedom to continue to train these fighters by getting off work at a good time and having my weekends to travel with these kids and get them fights and stay active. So I have some goals, and there's not one of them that I don't think that I'm going to attain here in the future, for sure.
All righty. Vinny O'Neill. 39-year-old professional fighter. 2 weeks from now, we don't know what's going to happen. We only know that in that ring, whoever you're fighting is going to have a fight.
I know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and I'm sure he's going to give him his best. I know I'll see a different fighter than I saw the last time.
Absolutely.
You look great. You're in shape. Unbelievable transformation, because I haven't seen you in a couple months.
You were one of the hassles that made me get this transition in motion.
Good. I'm glad. I'm glad, man. All them fat jokes worked then, huh?
All them fat jokes. Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
If you could grab anything from this interview, grab the fact that don't blame others for what you're not accomplishing right now. And really, when you set your mind to it, like this young man has done here, when you set your mind to accomplishing your goal, you can do it. It's just how bad you really want to do it. And start now. Don't start tomorrow. Start at this very minute. Get out that pad and pencil, figure out what you're going to do. Take those baby steps. You're not going to lose 20 pounds in a week. You're not going to lose, you're not going to write 48 chapters this weekend. Take those baby steps, but the most important thing is start right now.
Start right now.
Vinny O'Neill, I'm going to be there. I'm going to watch you win this fight, or I'm going to watch you give a great performance. God bless you. I wish you much success and safety in this fight for you and your fighter.
Absolutely, I appreciate it.
You're one of the greatest sports ever. And thanks for all that you do here with the kids in the Mahoning Valley, too. That's going to do it. We're going to be right back and finish up this episode of 66 Days to Success. welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that. We learned quite a few things there, and they're so basic and so fundamental that we all should be ashamed that if we're not following them. Start now. No matter what it is that you want to do or accomplish or start now. No more starting tomorrow, no more starting after I get this done or that done. Start now. And anything you want to do, take it in small little steps, those small short-term goals to reach that long-term goal, just like Vinny did. Started out slow, started out the weight loss, getting back into the ring, the sparring, the whole kit and caboodle of which he did that led to a 43-pound weight loss. And at 39 years of age, he's going to get back into the ring and fight as a pro again. And believe me when I tell you, that's an incredible accomplishment for any guy to do. And I wish him well. I hope you learned something from it. Get started on that goal. Don't wait. Let's just do it. Whatever you want to do, don't wait till January 1st when you're going to join the gym or you're going to do whatever that thing is that you want to accomplish it. Start it today. Take that little baby step. Get that pad out and start planning so that you can accomplish your goal just like Vinny O'Neill did. You take care and have a great month, and we'll see you again next month with another episode of 66 Days to Success. See you later.